Democrats are probably going to win a lot of seats in the midterms, especially in the House. But let's be honest about why. It's not because they've rebuilt trust. It's certainly not because they've laid out a bold new vision. And it sure as hell isn't because voters suddenly feel confident again. It's because Trump creates chaos all the time. And chaos creates opportunity. That's not a strategy. That's luck. If Democrats want long-term credibility, they can't just wait for the other side to self-destruct. They have to fix what's broken inside their own house. And right now, a lot of voters, including people like me who have voted Democrat their entire lives, don't know what the party stands for anymore. That's the issue, not elections, credibility, or really the lack of it. Here's what I mean. When people talk about the Democratic Party today, the reaction isn't excitement. It's confusion or it's disgust. What are the party's core principles? What are the non-negotiables? What applies to everyone? And what changes depending on who you are? For a long time, the party stood clearly for a few things, and everybody understood this. Equal treatment under the law, free speech, pluralism, market economies with guardrails, and strong institutions. Now it feels conditional. The same action can be praised or condemned depending on the context. The same question can be thoughtful or dangerous. And when voters feel like the rules shift that easily, trust erodes. Trust in the Democratic Party is almost non-existent, even among many of their own voters. That's the credibility problem. Let's start with DEI. Not the slogan, not the intention, the practice. For many people, DEI never felt like inclusion. It felt like enforcement. Mandatory trainings, speech policing, career consequences for missteps. Debate didn't feel welcomed. It wasn't welcomed. It felt managed. And when people raised concerns, they were labeled trouble instead of engaged. If your party talks about diversity of identity, but abandons diversity of thought, people notice. And the party never clearly reset. That silence damaged trust. The Democratic Party has long claimed to oppose hate universally. And historically, the party had deep Jewish support and strong alliances with black voters. That coalition was one of its biggest strengths. But over the past decade, the rise of the Squad, a small but very loud group of far-left progressive members, changed the tone inside the party. Party leadership saw the far-left base growing, especially around the pro-Gaza movement, and they were afraid to confront it. Instead of drawing a clear line early, they hedged. They tried to avoid internal conflict. This was a serious failure of leadership, because when you refuse to say this is wrong, clearly, loudly, and consistently, the rhetoric escalates. And once it grows, it becomes much harder to contain. When antisemitism surged on campuses and in protests, the response was weak at best. Consistency builds credibility. Inconsistency destroys it. Now let's talk about gender medicine for minors. I believe this issue is going to matter far more in the next election cycle than many Democrats understand. This is a topic, like many empathetic people, and as an older gay man, I was initially comfortable with. Of course I wanted these kids to feel better about themselves. Of course I wanted them to feel safe and supported. But more recently, I started to feel uncomfortable with what I was hearing. So I did a deep dive. I started reading and watching everything I could find. And what I found didn't just change my mind, it alarmed me. It absolutely changed my position. And if you take the time to truly examine it, I believe it will change yours too. I'm no longer just skeptical of these treatments for minors. I now believe making them available to children is wrong. In fact, not just wrong, I believe it's immoral. For years, even asking basic questions about pediatric gender interventions was treated as cruelty. You weren't allowed to ask questions. Debate was shut down. Concerns were dismissed as hate. That was a mistake. Now, major medical organizations are stepping back, saying surgery should not be performed on minors under 19. that effectively shuts down most surgical interventions on children in the U.S. And yet the Democratic Party has not shifted its position. What I've seen from the Democratic officials since the announcements by the American Society of Plastic Surgeons and the AMA has been near uniform opposition to those new guidelines, opposition to the experts. I've not heard a single prominent Democrat express even a hint of caution. Not one voice saying maybe we should look more closely at this. Not one voice saying maybe there's something here worth examining. That kind of certainty, especially in the face of shifting medical guidance, is arrogance. And it's a political risk I don't believe they fully understand yet. As more detransitioners speak publicly, as more long-term data becomes available, this issue is not fringe anymore. There's a major national conference this September featuring around 70 detransitioners. When this hits the news cycle, the party is going to find itself flat-footed, and pretending this is going away will only make the fallout worse. Then there's the economy. Many Democrats say they believe in capitalism, but the loudest voices often talk about redistribution, socialism, and communism. When someone like Zohran Mamdani, the mayor of New York City, a self-described democratic socialist, is dominating national coverage, it reinforces the perception that the party is drifting economically. And whether that's fair or not, because quite frankly, he is one of very few, when someone in that position openly identifies as a democratic socialist, voters connect that to the party as a whole. That's how perception works. Capitalism's not the problem. Democracy is not the problem. Excess is the problem. Cronyism is the problem. Powerful interests bending the system to their advantage is the problem. Should I say billionaires? If Democrats want credibility, they need to say clearly, we believe in markets, we believe in growth, we believe in competition, and we believe in guardrails that protect fairness. If they want to lead the next 50 years of technological innovation, AI, and new industries, they need to say so clearly. They need to explain how, and they need to explain why you should trust them to lead it. And then they need to sound confident doing it. Right now, that clarity is not there. When you step back, the pattern becomes obvious. On DEI, the rules felt uneven. On antisemitism, leadership hesitated. On gender medicine for minors, debate was shut down, and now there is no visible reassessment whatsoever. On the economy, the message feels unformed. Individually, each issue can be debated. Together, they create a credibility gap. Voters want to know what you stand for. They want to know what applies to everyone. They want to know the rules won't shift depending on who you are. Right now, too many people aren't sure. This isn't about tearing the party down. It's about forcing an honest conversation. In the next few videos, I'm going to go deeper into 3 areas. First, anti-Semitism inside the party and why leadership failed to draw clear lines early. Second, gender medicine for minors and what the data is actually showing. And third, the economic identity crisis and what a credible, market-based, growth-oriented democratic vision could actually look like. If the party wants to rebuild trust, these conversations have to happen. Not quietly, not defensively, openly. If you think this kind of discussion matters, please subscribe, share it, ring the bell, and mark the thumbs up button to like it. Please push back if you disagree, comment below, but at least be honest about what's happening, because without credibility, wins don't last.